At the beginning of the year, efforts to put driverless cars on California's streets looked like they were careening. Uber had defied state officials by failing to get permits to test its technology, and then the company shipped its cars to Arizona to test them there. After 4 years of trying, regulators were still trying to write rules for testing cars without anyone in the driver's seat. Lawmakers and tech industry representatives worried that California was losing its grip on innovation in a sector primed for growth. Now, after this year's release of guidelines from the State Department of Motor Vehicles, the mood has changed. Californians should expect to see driverless cars tested on the state's roads early next year. It's been very exciting to see such responsiveness, said Assemblyman Evan Lowe, D. Campbell, one of many legislators who had been critical of the state's prior regulatory efforts. HTML body article aside details fig caption figure footer header group NAV section summary DLDDDTIMG display, block, margin, 0, padding, 0, head style body margin, 0, newsletter embed border top, solid 1px number D0 D0 D0, border bottom, solid 1px number D0 D0 D0, padding, 10px 20px, margin, 0, max width, 320px, font family, Arial, font size, 13px, color, number 535353, line height, 1.3 m, newsletter embed H2 font family, Belizio, Labelizio bold, Times New Roman, Times, serif, font size, 17px. Color, number 262626, line height, 18px, p. Description margin bottom 0, newsletter embed input font family, Arial, sans serif, font size, 14px, color, number C9, line height, 18px, border, 1px solid number CCC, padding 10px, max width 100%, border radius, 4px, margin top 7px, box sizing, border box, newsletter embed input type equals text width, calc, 100%, 94px, min width, 110px, color number 333, newsletter embed input type equals submit background color, number 4591b8, border, 1px solid number 4591b8, color white. Border 0, width 90px, cursor, pointer, newsletter embed input type equals submit hover background color, number 666, color, number FFF, border color, number 666, number MailChimp response margin top, 5px, min height, 16px, privacy link text align, right, margin 0, padding 0, privacy link a font size, 11px, color, number 5C5C5C, line height 14px, text decoration, none, privacy link a hover text decoration, underline, at media, max width, 260px, newsletter embed description display, none, newsletter embed H2. Font size, 14px, line height, 16px, margin bottom 0, newsletter embed input type equals text, newsletter embed input type equals submit margin top 5px, width 100%, essential politics. Sign up for the best from our political teams in your inbox free. Script. Privacy policy dash. The turnaround in attitudes toward the state's autonomous vehicle rules comes as dozens of other states and the federal government continue to ramp up their efforts to regulate the technology. In California, 43 companies, including Apple, Google subsidiary Waymo, Uber, General Motors, and lesser-known Start UPS are approved for testing under the state's rules that require a driver to be able to take control of the car at all times. Industry and regulatory officials expect numerous companies to apply for fully driverless permits once the DMV finalizes its rules in 2018, a big change from warnings that companies might flee the state because regulators weren't moving fast enough to allow the cars on the road. The murmurs of that have subsided because of the action and the movement by the DMV, said Andrea DeVoe, Vice President of State Politics and Policy at industry group TechNet. Still, major challenges remain for state officials to harmonize their regulations with the concerns of the federal government and local jurisdictions. In the fall, the House of Representatives passed legislation that would expand federal authority over autonomous vehicle operations by giving the federal government full control over the car's design and performance, including blocking the ability of states to prohibit testing. The Senate is considering its own autonomous vehicle bill. Around the same time, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration released guidelines for state and local government regulators, also pointing to a more robust federal role. Such federal efforts worry Steve Schlottover, a UC Berkeley research engineer who has advised state regulators on autonomous vehicles. He's concerned that the federal government will constrain how far the state can go in requiring manufacturers to comply with more stringent safety guidelines. As written, California won't be able to flex its muscle with the auto industry over autonomous vehicles as it has done with emission rules, he said. If that sort of prohibition had been in place on the emissions front a number of decades ago, we never would have had the stronger regulations that we do on emissions, Schlottover said. Local governments have their own interests. After Uber and the DMV engaged in a standoff in December over permitting for driverless cars the company was testing in San Francisco, Assemblyman Phil Ting, a Democrat who represents the city, introduced legislation that would have levied large penalties on companies that put their cars on the road without proper permits. The bill didn't go anywhere, and Ting said in an interview he's not sure if he's going to try again in 2018. Ting, who says he sees self-driving cars tested every day on San Francisco's streets, said he remains worried that the state hasn't given enough authority to local law enforcement if autonomous vehicles violate traffic laws. We want to make sure that the police are allowed to do their job, Ting said. Similarly, cities and counties want to get more data from the state about autonomous vehicle operation. Marcel Porras, Chief Sustainability Officer at the Los Angeles Department of Transportation, noted the recent approval of a local ballot measure to fund billions of dollars in transit improvements in Los Angeles County. The city needs to know how driverless cars are changing traffic patterns to best use that money, Porras said. We have an incredible amount of investment that's been committed by residents of the county to build out Metro's infrastructure, Porras said. We should be looking at how we should complement that investment, rather than cannibalize it. DMV officials said they've heard these concerns, and remain committed to requiring the highest safety standards for the technology. The time it's taken the agency to roll out its regulations shows its willingness to listen and how it will handle new rules as the technology continues to change, they said. This isn't easy. There are a lot of eyes on it, said Bernard Soriano, the DMV's deputy director. We don't want to be first and have a product that's not very sound. We want to get this right. HTML body article aside details fig caption figure footer header group NAV section summary DLDDDTIMG display, block, margin, 0, padding, 0, head style. Galleries after content, display, block, background color, number FF5443, margin, 16px auto 0, height, 5px, width, 100px. Galleries before content, politics videos, display, block, font, 723px/25px Belizio Georgia, droid serif, text align, center, color, number 1E1E1E. Dash. Caption. California Attorney General Xavier Becerra says he filed the suit separately instead of joining one already filed by 15 other states because the state and its economy will be especially harmed by the decision. September 11, 2017. California Attorney General Xavier Becerra says he filed the suit separately instead of joining one already filed by 15 other states because the state and its economy will be especially harmed by the decision. September 11, 2017. Caption. California Attorney General Xavier Becerra says he filed the suit separately instead of joining one already filed by 15 other states because the state and its economy will be especially harmed by the decision. September 11, 2017. California Attorney General Xavier Becerra says he filed the suit separately instead of joining one already filed by 15 other states because the state and its economy will be especially harmed by the decision. September 11, 2017. Caption. President Trump moved Thursday to scale back rules on health insurance across the country in the administration's most ambitious effort to date to use its regulatory powers to undermine the Affordable Care Act. President Trump moved Thursday to scale back rules on health insurance across the country in the administration's most ambitious effort to date to use its regulatory powers to undermine the Affordable Care Act. Caption. In a statement Wednesday morning, Secretary of State Rex Tillerson reaffirmed his commitment to President Trump's agenda, addressing what he called erroneous rumors in news reports this morning. In a statement Wednesday morning, Secretary of State Rex Tillerson reaffirmed his commitment to President Trump's agenda, addressing what he called erroneous rumors in news reports this morning. Caption. George Clooney and Julianne Moore talk about the importance of art and politics during their visit to the LA Times studio at the Toronto International Film Festival. Clooney directed Moore, Matt Damon, and Oscar Isaac in the comedy Suburb Icon, which is screening at the festival. Between its comic bits about crimes gone wrong, the film takes a critical look at white privilege in 1950s America. George Clooney and Julianne Moore talk about the importance of art and politics during their visit to the LA Times studio at the Toronto International Film Festival. Clooney directed Moore, Matt Damon, and Oscar Isaac in the comedy Suburb Icon, which is screening at the festival. Between its comic bits about crimes gone wrong, the film takes a critical look at white privilege in 1950s America. Caption. Mayor Garcetti responds to Trump administration ending DACA program. Mayor Garcetti responds to Trump administration ending DACA program. Liam.Dillon at latimes.com. At Dillon Liam. Also, totally driverless cars could be allowed on California roads by June 2018. Robot cars with no human driver could hit California roads next year. California regulations for driverless cars stall as other states speed ahead. Updates on California politics.